Hello, once again. Cathar Love 57, Along the Enchanted Way. Enchanted Way, somewhat poetic, one might say, you might say. I just said it. But, yes, that's what Catharism is to me. It's enchanting. It's an enchanting path, an enchanting way. It's an enchanting way of living one's life. If I look around at some of the things going on today in the name of religion and fundamental religion with this one and that one, chopping off heads, and enchanting's not the word that would come to mind. Barbaric, maybe. Medieval, maybe. But certainly not kind, loving, mystical, spiritual and enchanting. That's certainly not that. And all in the name of God. Poor old God. All these people doing this and that, and wars fought and God's on our side. You know, the Second World War, I believe the German army had written into their paybooks, you know, God is on our side. And of course, on the Allied side, God was on their side. Poor old God, he gets a rough time. And now, of course, he's on the side of all these other people, doing pretty terrible things. So, what is it that I would like to see in a philosophy, a religion, a belief system? Well, first and foremost, if I'd like to have a creator, a loving creator, one who truly loves me and is not going to harm me. I may have to go through good times and bad times, but it's part of the process. It's a part of the process of living and understanding even something that happens to a baby that's born and deformed, and we have the feelings of compassion. So we need things that are sometimes nasty for us just to have these feelings of compassion. So, but it's part of the process, and I'd like a system, a religion, a belief, a philosophy that allowed me more than one lifetime to get my act together. So I know I need plenty, and you know, I don't think even 100 would do suit me. I need a couple of thousand at the rate I'm going, and at the rate I see a few others going, they may need a few million. Anyway, so certainly I would like more than one life to learn to love and get my act together with compassion and feeling and kindness, because I certainly haven't accomplished it this time around, but I'm working on it. I can't imagine a loving, fair and just God, or a creator, keep away from God, a creator that creates a female or anybody any less equal than a male. Does he love males more than he loves females? Well, if you went on how the females are being treated, you'd have to say he, she or it would love males more than females. There are prayers even saying, thank God I'm a man. So I'd certainly want egalitarianism. I want equality. I want equal. Look, none of us are going to be born equal. Some of us are taller, some of us are shorter, some of us are smarter, some of us are better at maths, some of us are better at art, what have you. We're all unequal, but we are all entitled, from this perfect world and ideal world, we're entitled to equal opportunities. To opportunities of religion, of education, of being the best that we are. I would want to see a religion that promotes having babies. You know, I believe the world is overpopulated, and I don't think people should have babies just for the sake of having babies. You know, every child that's brought into the world should be certainly loved and be able to be cared for and have a decent education and have a chance to reach its true potential. So just having, but unfortunately the opposite is true. There's so many children that are brought into the world to work, even work as some as slaves, some in slave factories. Most will never have an education, and most will never reach their full potential. So the system is not very good at the moment. I can understand it. In some countries we have the pension, certainly in Australia, we have it in Germany and most European countries. As you get a certain age, there is a pension. Now, if you're out in Somalia, or in Pakistan, or in various other countries in Africa, your pension is the number of children who can look after you when you're old age. So having children there is their way of them being looked after as they get older. So I certainly understand people in those countries relying on children to look after them as they get older. That's their pension plan. But here we have a pension plan, and in certainly some of the more advanced countries like Australia, it's expensive raising children. So certainly, and also the population is just making it with the knocking down the trees and the forests for the animals and various things like that. The animal kingdom, nature is having a pretty rough time at the moment, and animal species are becoming extinct at an alarming rate. These are things that we know. You don't need me to be telling you this. So I don't think we should just have children for the sake of having children. So that is another thing. I believe, rather than our cultural traditions, some of which are ghastly, that people should be treated ethically. This is a fair way to treat people. If a child is smart and really talented, then the system should be there to take that smart and talented children through to what happens, whether they're singing or whether they're a mathematician, medicine, or whatever it happens to be. So the system needs to be able to cater for that, just as it needs to cater for the children for one reason or another. Maybe they're born with a spinal bifida or some particular situation. They also need to be cared for, because a civilization is only as good as it treats the lowest denominator, or the less privileged within that situation. The really wealthy can look after themselves. So I would want a system that not just the outward side is looked after, but the spiritual, the mystical, the magical side of our lives are also looked after. And in that respect, I would want, rather than me have to give my authority to somebody else to talk to God or whoever it happens to be, I would want my personal connection with the divine or my guide. So I would want a world where people respect each other, are tolerant of each other, have compassion for each other, essentially love each other, not hate each other and do another harm. So these are the things that I would want, and I don't see, certainly the major religions, with some have had a few thousand years to do something about it, managing to organise that. I don't really believe, and I'm not blaming religions for that, because all of us have an inbuilt capacity for goodness and inbuilt capacity for doing the wrong thing, evil in fact. And I think Edmund Burke was the one person who said that that evil can only flourish when good men are not prepared to do something about it. So these are the things that I would want. And with Gnostic Catharism, these are the things that I get. I have my own personal connection with the divine, with my guide. That's divine enough for me. And it assists me in many, many different ways, in a very practical sense. I personally believe I have total equality whether you're male, female, black, white, brown, or gay, or straight, trisexual, or quintuple sexual, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, most of these things, we happen to be born in that direction, and we don't have little choice, and it's how we live out our life experiences with these set of constraints that we happen to be born with. So I find Gnostic Catharism, to me, it's an enchanting way to live one's life. One can live one's life to the full, with no feeling that your body is indeed a wonderful and beautiful thing, and that all things that the body is involved in that are natural are indeed natural, and can't be sinful. I believe we should be singing and dancing and enjoying ourselves and making merry whenever we can. In other words, celebrating the gift of life that we have. This is all part of, I believe this should be for everybody, but it's certainly the Cathar way. With the Cathars, of course, many, as they filled out their life or led a full life, they wanted to fast track their spiritual life, and therefore they became celibate. They had their fair share of sex and so forth, but they decided to give it away. They became vegetarian and so forth, and they wanted to fast track their spiritual growth. If you want to do that, that's up to yourself, but it's not necessary. So it's the enchanted way. Now, the thing that I'm asked, probably more than anything else, is how do I, because connect with the divine, with my guide or whatever. Because essentially, with Gnostic Catharism, now you have a source that we all were created, and once we're created, we've got eternal life, and we have our reincarnations to improve life and so forth. Catharism is about developing unconditional love for everybody and everything. This is all fair enough, but the other thing is that Gnostic is all about Gnosis, and Gnosis is about knowledge of the divine. Knowledge, basically, it's knowledge. It's not just knowledge of the divine, it's knowledge, scientific knowledge, all the knowledge that you can find, that you can better your life, better understand life, better understand yourself, any of this knowledge. But there's also this inner knowledge, this knowledge of the heart, Gnostic knowledge. And that Gnostic knowledge, Gnosis, is you having a connection with the divine. For most, they have a connection one way or the other, and it varies from person to person with their guide, their spiritual guide. Okay, that's fine. How to get there? Everybody has their people who have their connection with their guide, and a lot of them are not Gnostics, and there's others that aren't Cathars. It's not. There's people, even religious people, who have connections with their guide, but they're mainly people who are more of a spiritual bent rather than religious, because religious is they're looking after your spiritual side, whereas if you're a Gnostic and Gnostic Cathar, you have to look after, you're responsible for your spiritual side, so you need to get your own connection. So to this end, I intend to do a series of talks, but explaining how I personally went about doing this, and how I gradually made my way, how shall I say, how I evolved at a spiritual level as far as connecting with my guide. And for some, it can happen quickly, like my friend, and who saw his guide 3 times, and I've never seen my guide. My daughter has, and my medium has, and they both describe the same person, but at least we've talked, and I do get these insights, and I get this messages every so often, and when I really need something, and the message is there, which guides me on the way. So probably one of the first things that I did was, and I certainly at the time wasn't looking for any connection with my guide, but I was looking for a spiritual or mystical connection, and so I commenced doing the I Ching. So the I Ching, to do it with the traditional way, can be a little bit time consuming. But I have another system which was devised by a German mathematician, and I've used this for 30 years, and it's great. And I will show you this system. So, just giving you forewarning at this moment, there's a couple of different ways. Another very simple way is just using a number of cards from an ordinary pack of cards. Our normal cards, and I'll show you how you can shuffle these, and then you can do a hexagram with these. And a hexagram is it's 6 lines, and they can be yin or yang, and they can be yin moving or yang moving. If they're yin moving or yang moving, they will change after you've done that hexagram, and that will create a new hexagram if you have any yin or yang moving lines. And so the first hexagram is telling you what's happening at the moment, and the second one, and then there's lines, and you look at these lines if there's any lines, and then the next hexagram is telling you more or less the future event. This doesn't always happen that way, but that's the more or less the standard way, and that's why they call it the I Ching, which means the book of change. You can also use chopsticks, and you can just, these are chopsticks here. So, and all I have on there is on there I've got a yin, which is just 2 greens, or a single stroke, which is a yang, and I just mark them on the chopsticks. And so it's a little bit more traditional. You know, we can hear the clicking. A little bit more traditional than using cards, but it doesn't matter. You're both coming to the same conclusion. So it's the chopsticks can be just, these are another type of chopsticks. These are chopsticks. As long as at the end you can mark on a yang or a yin, and or yang moving or yin moving. So that's the only thing, that they're flat at the end. You can do that with a little bit of sandpaper. Here I have the book that I use, the I Ching. This is the pocket one. You can get a larger one, and they're the I Ching, and it was the Richard Willem, a German guy, who did the first translation, and from that it came into English. Carl Jung spent a lot of time, the father of psychology, with the studying the I Ching, and he called it it's the Chinese version of science, because it is highly scientific and circular, and even Confucius spent the last 20 years of his life studying the I Ching. And the I Ching is quite possibly the oldest book in the world, and the emperor, the first emperor Wang Di, the first Qin emperor who united China, he burned all the books. He wanted history to start from himself, but the I Ching, who was already old when he did that, that survived, and it's been added to by various people. So that book, and so I suggest that if you're interested in this, but if you try and pick up the Richard Willem I Ching, big one or small one. I use the pocket one, and it's very, very good. It's the same, you'll get the same message from either, just it's easier to carry around. So that's one system, and I did that, and it was only as much as 3 weeks ago I did the I Ching, and I hadn't done it for about 3 years, but I didn't feel the need to, and it gave me very specific information, which was about corruption and about this fight I've got at the moment. Cathar's fight, but we try and fight with love and light and understanding. But if there's things that are not right, not things that are not going on well, of course you fight. And at the moment there's a 50-story building going up, and it's going to make a few people well off and rich, and it's not good for the members. So I'm fighting them, and in the best way I can, and looks like I'm getting there. So I've had help from that, from my guide. The next one of the other ones we're going to do is a pendulum. This is my pendulum. It's just a pendulum. Some people use just a cotton and a wedding ring. It's up to yourself how you make your pendulum. My particular pendulum is I'm made out of a piece of wood, and what I've got on here is a very thin piece of fishing wire because it's nylon and it hasn't got a twist in it. And so I'll just put my hand up here and we put it here and we just watch. It's going into a circular motion. Okay, I'll put it on the other side. And it goes in a motion like this. So one is masculine, one is feminine, one is yes, one is no. But basically the pendulum does a yes and it does a no. So from this is a way of connecting. These are just ways of connecting with your guide. And as you do it and you gain some expertise, but what I will do also, I'll give you a series. For instance, if you have your hand up, on your fingers, some fingers are negative, some fingers are positive. If you draw a line on a piece of paper, any old line on any old piece of paper, one end of that line will be negative, one end will be positive. Doesn't matter which way you switch around that. These are things that you'll find with the pendulum. And so I might even give you a few little things to ask you to do them, and then the following one I can see whether you're correct or not. Because for the pendulum, the rules are universal and people have used it all over the world for many, many years. But you can use it to connect with your guide. For instance, you might say, do I have a guide? And hopefully it says yes. It may say no. For me it says yes. And then you can say, for instance, are you male or female? For male would be a circular, and this would be, this backwards and forwards would be female. So already I have a guide, or I haven't, and I've got a male or a female. I don't know if there's any ones that are in between, I've got no idea, but so far they're male or female. So therefore, and we can even go through the letters and so forth and find out the name, and slowly you can get information about your guide. And what you're doing is you're gaining this connection. So there are certain things that one can do. One other thing that I want to do, because I want to bring this into a bit of a more practical area, past lives. So another time I'll do a meditation, probably about the best part of half hour. I've got to look for some music that I used to use before, and then I'll just take you, not hypnotically, but through a meditation, and I'll take you through and give you a chance to go into a past life. Now, when I've done it, I've done up to about 98 at a time. Is about the most I've ever done. But I won 3 nights, all around about 93, 95, 98, and virtually there was only about half a dozen people at that time who didn't have a past life. So there's very good chances that you should have a past life. And it's the fact that I'm doing it on YouTube, or the fact that I'm somewhere else, I can't see how it would make any difference. So if you want to give me your comments, that's fine. But I'm not saying it's going to be a past life. What I'm doing is I'm the facilitator. I'm just going to take you through this. You will have the experience, not me. I don't know what experience you're having. And it's up to you. You will know within yourself, within your heart, your mind and your soul, you will know whether you actually experienced a past life or not. So at the moment, I'm on the enchanted way, along the enchanted path, and I'm enjoying it. I'm well past 10, and I got an illness, and the mind is still operating reasonably well, so it's going okay for me. And but these are the things that I want to put on. So they're more of a practical nature, because this is for people that the things that they can do that may assist them in their connection with the divine, which is all part, because that's a very essential part of Gnosticism and Catharism, this gnosis. And this gnosis is inner knowledge, mystical knowledge, magical knowledge, knowledge of the heart, but and this is gnosis. So this is some way and some ways that I can assist you on your path towards that, if you so desire. I'll leave it on that note. Bye for now.